Hey guys, this is Deltrox here from Masque, and today I'm going to be talking about the tanking changes that came in Wrathstone. And so, for those of you who aren't aware, Racial's passives got changed, one-handed enchants got nerfed, and that affects the way that we want to use stabs on our back bar. And so, first let's talk about the racial passive changes. So, as a tank, I think there are three races that are pretty above the other ones, and that's going to be Argonian, Imperial, and Nord. And so Argonian and Imperial, they are going to be the kind of sustain tanking races. They both have passives that really help their sustain, and then Imperials have a massive stat pool to work with. And so I personally like Argonians over Imperials. I really like the potion passive. It really helps you in tough situations and is just generally helpful in pretty much all the time. But the Imperial cost reduction does affect ultimates, and so that's going to be very nice. And it affects block and dodge roll and everything like that. Granted, the 3% isn't a lot, but it is something, and that's nice. The Argonian sustain, like, not counting the cost reduction, is about twice as good as that of the Imperial. But the Imperial also has the cost reduction, like I said, and they also have massive stat pools. So an Imperial will have a lot more health than an Argonian, and a lot more stamina. An Argonian will have a little bit higher magicka, but that's an Argonian's a tank's least important resource pool, and so it's really not all that great. Nords, on the other hand, have no sustain built into their kit, but they have benefits that affect their sustain in other ways. So the first one is that they get about 4k resistances, both spell and physical, and so this means that they most likely won't have to be running Major Ward or Resolve, and so that means that they get to save out on the magicka cost from running Hardened Armor, or they don't have to wear Chudan. It clears up an ability slot and things like that. And then they also get their ultimate generation, which if you're a Dragon Knight, as most tanks are, then that ultimate generation will also affect your resource sustain that you get back from Battle Roar, because that gets you resources back every time you use an ultimate ability. And then, of course, because you're getting more ultimate, that means you're casting more Warhorns, and so you're increasing group DPS. But the amount of group DPS that you actually get and the amount of Warhorn uptime that you actually get from being a Nord really isn't all that great. In a perfect situation, it's about a 2% increase in major force uptime, which, like, it's okay, don't get me wrong. 2% is actually a decent amount, but that's in a perfect machine situation. You can check out my video on it. I'll try and link it in the upper right corner. But yeah, I don't know. Nords, I think, are a little bit overhyped right now, and I think Argonian is still going to be the best tanking race. So moving on. The one-handed weapons all got their enchants cut in half, and so this means that for sword and board, we have to change the way that we want to do things. And so on our sword and board bar, it's a little bit more flavor right now. I'm seeing a few different ways that people want to do things. I personally have been using a decisive trait with a absorb stamina poison. I'll show you what I got. And so, I unequipped it. There we go. I've been using these poisons, which drain stamina from your target, increasing the cost of their stamina abilities by 10%, and restores 238 stamina per second to you for 3.5 seconds. Applies minor fracture to your victim, reducing physical resistance by 1320 for 6.4 seconds. And so the reason that I've been liking using these is because the enchants, I feel like, really just haven't been that great. Like, normally we would run a weakening enchant here, but since they got nerfed, it's no longer worth it to run infused. And since we're not running infused, that means our enchant only has a 50% uptime, which really isn't that great. And so I've decided to go decisive for the extra ultimate gen, and then these poisons, because I think the poisons are outperforming enchants right now. But like I said, the front bar is a little bit of flavor. You certainly can run a weakening enchant on your front bar, and it's not bad by any means. You can still run infused and a weakening enchant. You'll have really good uptimes on that, of course. It'll be just like normal. Just the effect won't be as strong. And it's really nice in some fights, specifically like main tanking St. Olms in Asylum Sanctorum. Because so much damage comes out of Olms that affects the rest of your group, it's really nice to weaken him down rather than try and get the minor fracture from your poisons. Because the poisons, while they have a maximum uptime of 64%, in practice I've only been able to get about 20-25%. Maybe a better player than me could push it up to like 40, but I really don't see it going much higher than that, just because of RNG and having to block and things like that. And so finally, let's talk about the staff and why we need to have a staff on our back bar now. So the reason that we have to have a staff on our back bar now is because the staff enchant didn't get touched. So that means that our Crusher enchant is still going to be just as strong as it was before, which is super important. It lets us run infused still, which just makes it have 100% uptime as long as we keep blockade down, because blockade is a weapon ability and a damage over time effect. And so that means that every time blockade ticks, it will try and reapply our enchant, and blockade ticks once every second, and our enchant has a cooldown of 5 seconds. And so that means that it will proc every 5 seconds, and it has a duration of 5 seconds. And so you just want to keep a staff on your back bar so that you can keep that Crusher up at 100% uptime and have it be as strong as possible. I personally like using an ice staff on the back bar because it's safer, less chances of getting caught on your back bar and messing up and dying and killing everyone in your group. And lightning stabs, I feel, don't have that big of advantage. The off balance that blockade gives is already should be applied by your healers, and the concussed uptimes are going to be really bad unless you're running a shock enchant, which is not worth dropping a Crusher enchant for. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the tanking changes in Wrathstone. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys will leave any questions, comments, concerns, threats, anything like that down in the comments below. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.